Have you ever dreamed of being a fighter? Ever wondered if you could compete, win, maybe even make it to the UFC one day? I've had that dream for as long as I can remember. It's a dream I've held on to through injuries, hard training sessions, losses, wins, and all the ups and downs that come with chasing something difficult. So far, I've had 13 amateur fights, and while I'm still on my own journey, today I want to break down exactly what you need to do if you've ever thought about becoming a mixed martial arts fighter. Not just training for fitness, not just learning how to throw a punch, actually stepping into a cage and competing. The first thing you need to do is answer a few important questions. The first question is, why do you want to do this? Because fighting is one of the most unforgiving sports on the planet. There are easier ways to stay in shape, easier ways to make money, and easier ways to challenge yourself. So if you're going to do this, your reason has to be strong enough to keep you showing up when training gets hard, when you're exhausted after work, when you're questioning whether it's all worth it or not. The second question is, are you ready to get hit? Because no matter how talented you are, you're going to get punched, kicked, kneed, elbowed, submitted, and humbled. That's part of becoming a fighter. You don't have to enjoy it, but you have to accept it. And the final question is, are you willing to give everything you've got and still have no guarantees? Because this sport will take a lot from you. Your time, your money, energy, sometimes even your health. And it may never give you fame, money, or a UFC contract in return. You have to be okay with the possibility that the journey itself is the reward. And honestly, if hearing all of that still excites you, then you might actually be meant for this. So let's talk about how to get started. The first step is finding the right gym. This is arguably one of the most important decisions you'll make early on. You'll want coaches who know what they're doing, training partners who push you, and a culture that helps you improve. A good gym doesn't have to be a famous gym, it doesn't have to have UFC champions, but it should have active competitors, active coaches who genuinely care about their athletes, and people who are getting better every year. Your gym becomes your second family. These are the people you'll sweat with, suffer with, celebrate with, and go to war with. Make a good decision. On the flip side, avoid gyms that promise you'll be a champion. Nobody can promise that. Be cautious of coaches who care more about collecting membership fees than developing athletes. I've personally trained under coaches who seem more interested in my wallet than my growth. A good coach invests in you. A bad coach sells you a dream. Learn the difference. Before we get into training schedules, strength and conditioning, and all of that, I think it's important to talk about what it's actually like when you first start. Because everybody has this image in their head of walking into an MMA gym, they picture getting beat up, everybody staring at them, being completely out of place. That's how I felt. I know how you may feel. The reality is usually much different. Most gyms are filled with regular people, teachers, construction workers, accountants, college students, parents, people who simply decided one day that they wanted to learn how to fight. And when you walk through those doors for the first time, nobody expects you to be good. Seriously, nobody. Everybody in that room remembers being the new guy. I was the new guy. Everybody remembers not knowing how to wrap their hands. Everybody remembers getting exhausted during warm-ups. Everybody starts somewhere. So if you're nervous about taking that first class, understand that every fighter you've ever looked up to was once standing exactly where you are right now. The hardest part is walking through that door. After that, things get a lot easier. Once you've found the right gym, the next step is simple. Show up. Seriously, that's it. Show up over and over and over again. I know it sounds obvious, but consistency is what separates the people who fight from the people who only talk about fighting. Most people quit before they ever discover what they're capable of. You'll have days where you're tired, where work runs late, where you don't feel motivated. You gotta go anyway. The fighters who improve the fastest aren't always the most talented. They're the ones who keep showing up. When you're first starting out, aim to train 4 to 5 days per week if possible. Take classes in boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and MMA as a whole whenever possible. Learn everything. At this stage, you're not trying to become a specialist. You're trying to build a solid foundation. And yes, eventually you are going to need to spar. And I won't lie to you, you're probably going to suck. I know I did. The first time you spar, your heart rate's going to spike, go through the roof. You forget everything you've learned, you gas out in 30 seconds, and every punch feels 10 times faster than it did on the pads. That's completely normal. The goal isn't to win sparring, the goal is to learn. If you're getting touched up, that's a good thing, you're learning. If you're making mistakes, that's also a good thing, you're learning. Some of the biggest improvements I've ever made came from rounds where I got completely humbled and humiliated. Leave your ego at the door. Nobody cares if you're the toughest guy in the beginner class. Focus on getting better, not improving how tough you are. A lot of people want to learn how to fight without actually fighting. That's not how this works. That's like wanting to be a swimmer and not wanting to get wet. Controlled sparring allows you to test what you've learned and identify what needs improvement. Don't treat every round like it's a world title fight. Treat it like practice. The goal is to learn, not win in the gym. Outside of skill training, recovery is critical for this sport. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is thinking more is always better. It's not. You don't get better during training, you get better while recovering from training. Take recovery seriously. Get enough sleep. Eat some quality food. Stay hydrated. Stretch. Go for walks. Swim. Do active recovery, play basketball, stay active without beating yourself up. You need to train hard, but you also need to recover harder. Both matter. You'll also want to incorporate strength and conditioning. A stronger athlete is generally a better athlete. Focus on building strength, explosiveness, durability, and conditioning that transfers to fighting. Now, this can get very individualized, so if possible, work with a strength and conditioning coach who understands combat sports. Now, let's talk about communication. If your goal is to fight, you need to tell your coach that. Don't assume that they know. Be honest with what you want. Tell them your goals and let your work speak for itself. You don't need to beg for fights. You don't need to consistently ask them when you're fighting. Just keep showing up, keep improving, and trust the process. A good coach will know when you're ready. After around 6 months to a year of consistent training, you should ideally start thinking about some competitions. And personally, I recommend doing a few jiu-jitsu tournaments first. Competing is a skill. Learning how to deal with nerves, adrenaline, and pressure is incredibly valuable. Local BJJ tournaments are great ways to get experience before stepping into a cage. Think of it as building experience points. Every competition teaches you something. Every match helps you prepare for the next one. Then, eventually, that day will come. Your coach finds you an opponent, you sign the paperwork, and you get a fight date. And suddenly, this thing you've been dreaming about becomes real. And while we're talking about competition, let's talk about something most people don't want to hear. At some point, you're probably going to lose. Maybe in sparring, maybe in a jiu-jitsu tournament, maybe in an actual fight, and that's okay. One of the biggest misconceptions people have about fighting is that successful fighters don't lose. That's not true. Successful fighters learn from losing. Every fighter has losses. Shit, I have 5 losses in a row right now. Every champion has setbacks. The difference is they don't let one bad performance define them. One loss doesn't mean you're a bad fighter. One bad day doesn't erase all the hard work that you've put in. Sometimes losing teaches you more than winning ever could. The people who make it in this sport aren't the ones who never fail, they're the ones who keep showing up after they fail. Now, let's talk about balancing fighting with real life. Because unless you're one of the lucky few getting paid to train full time, you're probably going to have a job. I work a regular job, a lot of fighters do. And that means waking up early, working all day, driving straight to the gym, getting home late, eating, sleeping, and then doing it all over again. It's not glamorous, and nobody is going to see these days. Nobody sees you dragging yourself into practice when you're exhausted, but that's where fighters are built. Not under bright lights, not on fight night. It's the boring days. In the days where you don't feel like training, but you do it anyway. Discipline beats motivation every single time. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward. Now, let's talk about weight cutting. Keep it reasonable. At the amateur level, experience matters more than squeezing every possible advantage out of the scale. Focus on building skills, focus on getting fights, focus on learning. Don't starve yourself trying to be the biggest guy in the division. And clean up your nutrition year-round. Weight cuts become a lot easier when you're not carrying unnecessary weight to begin with. And that's why I always tell people that fighting is about way more than fighting. Even if you never become a UFC champion or go professional or only have one amateur fight, the sport will change you. You'll become more disciplined, confident, and resilient. You'll learn how to stay calm under pressure. You'll meet some of the best friends you'll ever have in your life. You'll gain a level of confidence that only comes from doing difficult things. Fighting has given me so much more than fights. It's given me perspective. It's given me a purpose. It's shown me what I'm capable of when things get really hard. And honestly, that's why I think everyone who has ever thought about doing this should at least try it. Because you're not guaranteed success, you're not guaranteed a championship, but because you'll never know what you're capable of if you don't. Most fighters aren't special. They're not superheroes. They're not fearless. They simply made a decision. They stopped wondering if they could do it and decided to find out. So if you've been thinking about becoming a fighter, this is your sign. Find a gym, take that first class, show up consistently, and trust the process. See where it takes you, because years from now, you'll either have stories, lessons, experiences, and memories that most people never get to have, or you'll still be wondering what could have happened if you started. And trust me, You don't want to spend your life wondering. Finally, I want to leave you all with this. Most fighters aren't born different. They aren't any different to you or I. The difference is at some point, they stopped wondering if they could do it and decided to find out. Every fighter you look up to was once a beginner walking into a gym for the first time. Every champion was once terrible. Every professional fighter was once nervous before their first sparring session. So if you've been thinking about doing this, stop waiting for the perfect moment, or until you're more confident, or even until you're in better shape. Walk into a gym, take that first class, because years from now, you'll either be glad you started, or you'll still be wondering what could have happened if you did. And trust me, it's a lot better to find out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, trying to do my best to inject a little bit of personality into the scripts that I'm writing a little bit longer scripts. So let me know if you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about today's video. Let me know if you've ever thought about fighting, if you've ever thought about competing in any sort of mixed martial arts. It doesn't have to be, MMA. It could be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, all of the above. Leave a comment, let me know. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Thank you. Also, thank you for the recent support on the last video. All the videos on the channel had like a combined view count of like 10 views. And then that video I posted got like 300. So thank you guys for commenting. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. I'm going to try and do more videos along the same lines of that. So definitely hit that subscribe button, turn that bell notification on. But other than that, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I've been your boy Caden, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.